there's one thing that I've really learned about Nintendo is at this point they're bigger than the game industry. Nintendo is not just pigeonholed or strapped to just consoles or Zelda games or Mario games. They're branching out. I mean, they literally have an entire part of amusement park at Universal Studios called Nintendo Land. That's extremely dope. It's on my bucket list. I gotta go visit it at some point. But it's really interesting to me when I hear things like Nintendo's gonna fail, Nintendo's going to possibly, is on a downward trend, and they're going to lose everything. Maybe somebody will buy them. So it's like Nintendo is not in dire straits right now. Nintendo is perfectly fine. Did you see what the Mario movie made? Really? Of course Nintendo is fine. Nintendo, to me, has always been the supplementary console anyway. It's never been a primary console. PlayStation, Xbox are the primary consoles. Now, if you want to talk Sony and PlayStation being in trouble, I'll talk all day about that because that's true. But if you want to talk about Nintendo being in trouble or potentially suffering financial losses heavily, as much as I'm pretty sure Sony is right now, yeah, that's not going to be something that I'm really going to entertain because I've heard it most of my life. I've always heard Nintendo is failing. I've always heard Nintendo's going to Nintendo's not up there with Xbox and PlayStation, and they never were trying to. They figured out where that sweet spot is in terms of games, quality, innovation, and then just put it out there. And then every single time they release a new console, it sells out it's hard to find one for months and months and months. And that's what makes Nintendo continue to rise and then slightly fall. Certain things kind of cause it to fall, whether it's a failed game or a game that just didn't live up to the hype, like every Pokemon game the past decade. But right now, everybody is kind of anticipating the Nintendo Switch 2 release. So whether they call it the Switch 2, probably not. They've always had a different name for their consoles, so I don't think it's going to be the Switch 2. It could be wrong, but Nintendo is more innovative than just adding a number to their console like PlayStation. But basically right now there is a delay in the Nintendo Switch 2 and it coming out. Originally, I think insiders were predicting the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to come out this year. However, that doesn't look like the case. I think personally, if the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, I think we're probably going to see it early next year. I think maybe around February, March we might see it. And from there, we'll see what type of games that they're making. I mean, they still make amazing Zelda games. The Zelda games get better and better with each one. The last Mario game that came out was one of my favorite Mario games of all time. I think it was Wonderland or something. But that game is absolutely incredible. And we're just going to head over to his article kind of talking about, maybe the dire straits of Nintendo and the problems with Nintendo. But let's just head over to this article right now. Alright, so it says Nintendo faces a lot tougher gear after Switch 2 delay, analyst says. An industry analyst reflects on the recent news of an internal Switch 2 delay, hitting at its potential effects for Nintendo and consumers alike. So let's see here. Switch 2 delay means Nintendo is in for a lot tougher gear than investors might have hoped for. An industry analyst said the outlook was offered as part of our wider overview of the potential effects of the widely reported move, both for Nintendo and consumers alike. While the Japanese gaming giant still refuses to even acknowledge that its next console is on the horizon, which it is. I mean, come on, we know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like there's great games on the Switch 1. It's just time your tech is just old. Okay, when Switch was released, it was an older tech, okay? And now you're competing with the Steam Deck. So you kind of have to release the Switch 2 relatively soon. But it says the Switch 2 have been slowing around. And while reports about Nintendo's next hybrid device were sometimes contradictory, something resembling an insider consensus started emerging circa August 2023, when several sources claimed that the Switch 2 would launch in 2024. And that was what I was kind of talking about, was the fact that analysts predicted that, yes, the Switch 2 is going to come out this year, and now this article is saying, no, it's not going to happen this year. That says a newly surfaced report has now suggested that the Switch 2 will slip into 2025, when Nintendo supposedly aiming to release in the first quarter of the following year. As I stated, that was my prediction. While the reasons behind the purported internal delay remain unclear, it is likely that the move will result in fewer Switch exclusives and a more challenging fiscal year for Nintendo. That's according to Smokin Toto, the CEO of the Tokyo-based analytics firm Kantan Games, who recently spoke with Bloomberg about the implications of Nintendo refraining from releasing a Switch successor for the 8th year in a row. Let's see, Switch 2 owners should embrace for a pretty dry year. You know who else should brace for a dry year? PlayStation fans. There's 2 games that they're releasing this year that are worth mentioning. But everything else you can play on PC, you can play on Xbox. So, PlayStation, I feel like, is way worse right now situation than Nintendo. Reflecting on the news of the Switch 2 delay, which Bloomberg itself has now also corroborated independently, Toto opined that Nintendo's content pipeline is likely to be pretty dry this year. Elaborating on that point, the analyst predicted Nintendo will plausibly hold on to its upcoming blockbusters until the next console is out. The Switch could consequently experience a somewhat lackluster year, during which Toto suggests Nintendo might intensify its focusing on remakes, all while original releases take a back seat. And that's kind of what PlayStation has also done. I mean, the fact that you got a Last of Us 2 remake now, granted, I think it was, $10 or something like that if you already own it for the PlayStation 4, which, fair for that, but there's way too many remakes right now, and I know it's typically to hold you over until the next console comes out, because I think Nintendo, anytime that they've come out with a new console, and Zelda games especially, they've released them on the previous console as well as the new console, so I think that's gonna happen too, and I don't feel like all of a sudden, once the new console comes out, Nintendo's like, yeah, we're done with the original one. They usually kind of support it for a little while after. The current state of the company's 2024 software lineup dovetails with the analyst forecast of the 6 upcoming Switch games that Nintendo recently highlighted to investors, half are remakes or remasters. Meanwhile, its original titles include Niche Puzzler: Another Code Recollection, releases Friday, February 16th, and Metroid Prime 4, which is getting more likely to skip the Switch by the day, seeing how it is announced back in 2017 and is still waiting for gameplay review, never mind a release date. Okay, so Metroid Prime, it has a really soft spot in my heart for that game. I love that franchise to death. And just all the Metroid games I've always enjoyed quite a bit, and Metroid Prime 4, I've been hearing there was going to be one since the Wii came out, so it just hasn't. And if Metroid Prime 4 does get released, it's probably going to be on both the new console and the old console, because they're probably making it for the old console, and then they kind of switched and said we got to make a Switch too, no pun intended. Relying on the Switch for the 8th consecutive year is bound to result in a challenging period for the Japanese group, with Toto predicting that 2024 will be a lot tougher for Nintendo without a new device. I keep forgetting that the Switch 2 came out before the PlayStation, years before. I keep hearing rumors that there's a new PlayStation on the horizon. It's like, yeah, but you barely released any games for the one that I currently paid $600 to freaking own. So this isn't about PlayStation. I really, if I do make a video, it's going to be a very big rant against PlayStation, how much I really despise them right now. A Switch 2 announcement, whenever it happens, will also ostensibly lower the already declined sales of the existing console, but the move might not substantially impact software sales, so the upcoming system is immediately confirmed to offer backward compatibility, which I don't think it's going to be full backward compatibility, but I think there will be some. Okay, so even before reading the article, I had my suspicions that probably next year, first quarter, the Switch 2 is probably going to come out. That's still my prediction, And from this article, that kind of just reinforces my prediction of what I was saying. I do believe that a game like Metroid Prime 4 will get released on the current Switch as well as the new console. And I think that's going to be for any other games that they're currently developing or have been developing for a year or so. It would be interesting to me to see what the console looks like, what the general idea behind it is, and what is the new innovative feature. Every Nintendo console has always had innovative features or made it extremely different than the previous generation console. So I'm excited to see what the Switch 2 holds. I'm excited to finally see Metroid Prime 4 whenever that trailer actually releases. And overall, I think Nintendo is doing perfectly fine. Is it going to be a down year? More than likely. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And then hopefully we get a new Switch early next year. But let us know what you're all thinking. Do you even care about the Switch 2 coming out? Do you have any games that you're hoping to still wind up on the first Switch as well as the Switch 2, like Metroid Prime 4? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. And thank you so much for chilling with me. And we'll see you all in next gaming sessions.
Abducted by my brain and it drains